She came running out of the woods barefoot, her tinny face streaked with tears and her gasping so hard she could barely speak. "Please help." There being my mama, she screamed, voice cracking like glass. The guys around me went silent.
The rumble of bikes faded into a low growl as every one of us turned to look at the trembling little girl clutching her ripped pink dress. For a second, nobody moved. The only sound was the slow ticking of an engine cooling beside me.
Then our leader Tank stepped forward, his heavy boots crunching on the gravel. "What did you just say, sweetheart?" he asked, voice soft but steady. The girl sobbed harder. "My mama, please, they're hurting her in the cabin," she cried, pointing back toward the trees. "Before we divin comment which country you're watching from, because what happened that day changed how I see Pete Plea and what it do to protect someone in need. It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon. We were halfway through a charity ride, taking a break near a rest stop off a dusty rural highway. The air smelled of oil and pine needles, and the sound of cicadas buzzed in the distance. I remember wiping sweat off my forehead, sipping from my water bottle, joking with the guys about which dinner had the best. High down the road, just normal, peaceful moments. Then that scream cut through everything like a knife. It wasn't just fear, it was desperation.
And when a kid cries like that, you don't question it, you move. I threw my helmet onto the seat, heart pounding, and followed Tank as he crouched down to her level. "Who's hurting her? Do you know them?" he asked. The girl nodded frantically. "It's my stepdad and his friends. They're drowned."
"Please hurry," she could barely breathe, her little hands trembling as she clutched Tank's vest like her life depended on it. We exchanged looks, no words needed. Everyone knew what we had to do. Within seconds, engines roared back to life.
The ground shook as 12 bikes tore down the dirt path behind the gas station, gravel spraying like bullets. My hands tightened on the handlebars. The smell of exhaust filling the air, and all I could think was, what if we were too late?
The woods closed in fast, branches scraping against our arms as we followed the girl's directions. My pulse hammered in my ears. I caught glimpses of a small cabin through the trees, broken fence, half-collapsed porch, smoke rising from a rusted barrel outside. Tank cut his engine first and held up a hand. We coasted to a stop, silence heavy as a loaded gun from inside. Thane shouting, then a crash, a man's voice yelling, "You think you can talk back to me, woman?" My stomach turned cold.
I jumped off my bike, growled, biting into my boots, and motioned for the others to fan out. The little girl clung to my vest, whispering, "Please don't let him hurt her again." And that was all I needed to hear.
I could see movement through a cracked window, a man's shadow swinging his arm, something glinting in his hand. My blood boiled. Tank signaled to Big Ray, who kicked at the door so hard it flew off its hinges. The singed inside froze everyone for half a heartbeat.
A woman lay on the floor, one arm shielding her face, bruises darkening her skin. 3 men surrounded her, their bottles scattered, one holding a belt. The one closest to her turned, stunned by the sudden burst of light and noise.
What the hell was all he got out before Tank's voice thundered across the room. "Step away from her." Now the man sneered, eyes flicking over our leather vests. "Bikers, who you think this is your business?" He slurred, stumbling forward.
I stepped in front of the woman, fists clenched, heart racing so hard I could barely think. "It is now," I said through my teeth. His smirk twisted into rage as he swung at me. But I was ready. I ducked, grabbed his wrist, and shoved him into the wall. Bottles shattered. The little girl screamed from the doorway. Everything erupted at once. Cars crashing, men yelling, the thud of boots on wood, and that was only the beginning. Just exploded inside that cabin. Tank tackled one of the men, pinning him against the table, while Big Ray swung a chair to block another's attack. I could hear the woman going, trying to crawl away as glass crunched beneath her palms. "Get your hands off me," one of them shouted, but we weren't listening.
The smell of bare sweat and smoke mixed in the air, making it hard to breathe. I remember the sound of my heartbeat in my ears, each thud louder than the next. The man had shoved, came charging back, grabbing a metal pipe from the corner.
I braced myself, ducked low, and drove my shiver into his gut. He crashed backward into the fridge, the door breaking off its hinges. "Tank, get the woman out," I'd yelled, swinging my arm to block another strike. He nodded, lifting her up gently, while the girl ran to her, sobbing. Mama, she cried, clutching her tight. The woman winced, her voice hoarse. It's okay, baby, it's okay, she whispered, even as blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Tank guided them both outside, while the rest of us made sure the attackers wouldn't be getting up anytime soon. Big Ray cracked his knuckles, staring down one of the men groaning on the floor. You like hitting women? Oh, how about someone your size? The guy whimpered, too scared to speak. When we finally stepped out, the sunlight hit us like a slap. My hands were shaking, knuckles raw. But I didn't care. The woman sat on the steps, the girl's arms wrapped around her waist. Tank crouched beside them, his voice calm. Ma'am, we called the sheriff. They'll be here soon. She nodded weakly, whispering her thanks. Her eyes met mine, pale blue, full of fear, but also relief, and I felt something twist in my chest. Nobody should ever look that broken. I took off my bandana and handed it to her. Here, for the bleeding, I said softly. She smiled faintly. You saved my life. Then came the distant wail of sirens, faint, but growing louder. Tank exhaled. Good. Let them clean up the mess. But before the relief could sink in, one of the men inside yelled, you think you can just break in here? You'll pay for this. The press charges. He stumbled to the doorway, clutching his ribs. Tank turned slowly, eyes cold. Go ahead, he said. Tell them you were being a woman and threatening. I could see how far that gets. The guy froze, swallowing hard. I felt the tension thicken like smoke. But the moment the sheriff's cruisers pulled up, the mood shifted again. Deputies poured out, guns drawn, shouting for everyone to get down. We raised our hands, immediately stepping back from the cabin. They are the ones who did it. The drunk man screamed, pointing at us. I clenched my jaw, but stayed silent. The sheriff, a tall man with a weathered face, looked between us and the terrified woman. That true, ma'am? He asked. She shook her head. No, sheriff. These men saved us. Her voice trembled, but it carried enough truth to make the deputies lower their weapons. The sheriff's eyes narrowed at the three men inside to cuff him. He ordered. The look of defeat on their faces was almost satisfying, almost. I leaned against my bike as the sheriff took statements, the adrenaline finally fading. My arms hatched, bruises forming. But all I could think about was that little girl. She stood beside her mom, still crying, quietly clutching Tank's leather vest as if it was armor. When she looked up at me and whispered, thank you, I felt my throat tighten. I didn't even know her name yet, but something told me this story wasn't over, because the sheriff kept glancing at the house, muttering to one of his deputies. And when he finally approached us again, his expression had changed from calm to troubled. Listen, he said, voice low, you boys might have done the right thing, but you need to know who that man is. Tank frowned. What are you talking about? The sheriff rubbed his jaw, eye shifting toward the cabin. That's Greg Maori. As on probation, used to be a local cop. The words hit like to punch a cup that explained the arrogance, the confidence. Suddenly it all made sense. Away, he shouted about pressing charges. The way he acted untouchable. Tank exchanged a grim look with me. If the guy was ex-law enforcement, this could get messy, and from the sheriff's tone I knew it already had. The sheriff made a call, his voice tense, as he explained the situation to whoever was on the other end. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught phrases like former officer, restraining order, and department complaint. My stomach twisted. I looked at the woman sitting on the tailgate of a deputy's truck. While they treated her wounds, he used to be a cop, I asked. Quietly she nodded, tears streaking her face. He got fired 2 years ago, but he kept showing up, saying nobody could stop him. She glanced at her daughter, voice breaking. I tried moving away, but he always found us. My fists clenched so tight I felt my nails dig into my palms. No wonder she looked so terrified. Tank paced near the bikes, his expression stormy. So what now? He asked the sheriff. You just let him walk, because his ex-Paulus. The sheriff sighed, shaking his head. Not this time. We've got enough witnesses, and your body cam rush pointed at the GoPros mounted on two of the bikes probably caught everything.
You boys did us a favor, even if your methods were unconventional. Tank grunted. We done do nothing. Halfway, the sheriff cracked a faint smile, then turned to his deputies. Take Mallory in
and get a statement for everyone here. As they loaded the men into the back of the cruiser, the woman reached out to me. Please, she said softly, don't leave yet. I don't know what he'll do if he comes back. Her voice was small, full of exhaustion and fear. I crouched beside her, meeting her eyes. Is not coming back, I said. Not this time, she nodded.